Hi, guys. Welcome, all intrepid viewers, and welcome to Australia. So here I am going into winter, and this is how we roll. Okay, so this week I am answering your questions that you've put in the comments, and so we're going to just jump into it. I've avoided reading on RFK and his campaign until now. He's just appointed a new VP, what's her name? Nicole Shanahan, and that's apparently given energy to his campaign. What is wrong with this man? He comes from a political dynasty, as you guys call it. Apparently, even his family are saying, don't do this in this most important election year. Why would you do it? Oh, dread. Okay, but I'm going to have a look. RFK's campaign. Let's go. Let's go. Look, probably a lovely guy to have a drink with, but that's not the issue. Everything's on the line. So let's have a look at RFK. Oh, what fell out? 10 of Pentacles. Family, money, and influence. And in this case, the magic of the Kennedy name. This is why I don't like the royals or any other dynasties. Being born to rule. Don't like it, just don't like it. Okay, so what else do his cards say? They're working really hard. They're getting money. What's this about? Could be me. This could be me and you. Don't know. Oh. Okay. So it started with the money, power, and influence. I'm going to do a clarifier on this. Is this us or his campaign behind the scenes? Let me do a quick clarifier here on this Nine of Swords. Who's upset? Who's anxious? Government. Anxious. Maybe both sides of the aisle. You could make an argument that maybe middle of the road Republicans can't bring themselves to vote for the Yeti, so they vote for him. I'm more concerned that he could attract Dem votes. But I think both sides are actually a bit worried. They're not going to admit it, but they're a little bit, well, more than a little bit worried, actually. The campaign's going ahead step by step. He is attracting the funding and the call. Now, with this judgment card, one of the abiding images is Archangel Gabriel and his trumpet and people waking up. I hope it's waking up to the fact that you cannot vote for this man, please. But equally, it could be that people think, thank God, there's someone I can vote for. Ooh, I'm not thrilled with that reading at all, but I try and tell you how it is. Ooh, okay. So I don't think the campaign's going to be over soon, but let's hope it falls over at some point before November. Okay, so now, oh yeah. Now, of course, we've got the gag orders. Well, you may as well have a tissue in the rain as these gag orders, really. Tell me, intrepid viewers, I would like to see some legal person going the next step with what we call in Australia a suspended sentence. I'm sure you have the same principle, but someone says, actually, I am sending you to jail for 7 days. That is the outcome. However, I'm suspending that sentence If you do not transgress, it doesn't get activated. If it does, it does get activated. So it's like giving him a final warning. But will anything happen? Let's ask that, and then I'll get back to your questions. Okay. Are we getting any closer with these gag orders? Any closer? Oops. Just bad shuffling, not a jumper. Oh, a suspended sentence. Power of suggestion. Oh, look, they are trying to do something. I've only pulled 4 cards and 3 are majors. They're major arcana. What are we going to do with him? Nothing's worked so far. Nothing's moved the dial. But with the hangman, that halo can represent a new perspective. And the third interpretation of the hangman, which I'd love to think is operative here, the willing sacrifice. In other words, I think there's a spoken or unspoken thing between all these heavyweight prosecutors and judges. No one wants to be the first. Well, maybe someone has to be the willing sacrifice. They're already facing death threats, etc. So you may as well go down in history as a hero or a heroine. So maybe we'll see that. They do understand they need a new approach and that it's high risk. Both sides of government are tetchy about this, including the Dems, I would suggest. Outcome for this question, Knight of Pentacles. This can be the mercenary card, but I think here it's more like the old traditional interpretation of the steady, loyal knight supporting law and order. So look, I think there's a bit of a chance one of them is going to have to think laterally and come up with something. Little bit of hope, but not a lot. Okay, now, as Truth Social and the new merger dives towards the bathroom, it's funny that you guys are so polite and call it a bathroom. So there's some suing and counter-suing going on. So one of the questions I was asked was, so what's happening is 2 of the co-founders of Truth Social have sued the Yeti, right? Because he was trying to block them from getting shares or something. Doesn't matter. Don't crowd your brain. He's counter-suing, saying bad people. These are bad people. You know how he goes. So let's see, will there be any juice in these court cases around Truth Social? Anything interesting come out of these court cases? Let's have a little look. Truth Social. Okay. Oh, we got the Knight of Pentacles again. We got the Nine of Swords again. All right, I think, yeah. I think the Yeti is not focused on this at all. He's more focused on Jack Smith. The Magician has become my Jack Smith card. I just wish Jack Smith was supported by the system better than he is, but he's a very strong individual. And Trump, like all bullies, he actually senses this. And although he calls Jack Smith all sorts of names like Trump hating and it's mild stuff for the Yeti, I think he's actually afraid of Jack Smith. These cases will go on. Pentacles take a long time. I think Trump's going to lose the case, let alone the countersuing. I think he's just going to lose over this. and reflection, taking time out, all of those things. In this case, I think it's almost like by the end of this, he'll be in a virtual coma with stuff, rather than taking time out. He can't afford to, or it could be suggesting at some point, even he gets exhausted with his own legal cases. Could that happen? Is that a phenomenon? Don't know. Oh my God. All right. Now, I've been asked about Texas. So let's have a look at Texas in November. And over the intervening time, we'll gradually cover most of the major states. But we're starting today with Texas. I think Ted Cruz's Senate seat is up as well. But what's going to happen with Texas in November? Let's have a look. Let's have a look. I digress, viewers. In other news, 42 members of Congress, i.e., Valley of the Hyenas, 42 members, both sides of the aisle, have been identified as violating the Obama-era law of insider trading. 42 of them. 42. Back to Texas. Oh, sorry. That was Queen of Wands. What's going to happen in Texas? Oh, I'm quite liking this. That makes a change. Look, I'm not suggesting for a minute Texas is going to suddenly all go blue, but it has a complicated history and it has a new demographic. You've got a much younger population that maybe isn't so diehard. You've got big university cities. There's a bit of blue going on with these. So Queen of Wands. Anyone from Texas, let me know, who do you think this is? This is an extremely powerful woman who actually embodies the Texan identity. I come from Queensland in Australia. We were always called the Texas of Australia, right? So I know the mentality. We also had our own Trump, for years. So I grew up in a police state. The point is, this is someone who embodies Texas across the board. This woman is the unifying factor somehow. So let's keep our eyes peeled collectively. Closer to November, I think this is someone who is a Democrat, but she manages to not put the old guard, particularly women, offside. I think women's issues are going to play a big part in Texas, as it is everywhere. Attempts to steal the election. Remember back to 2018 when Beto made his first run. It was very suspicious that he didn't topple Ted Cruz then. Texas could have had a different trajectory. So they're practiced. They know how to steal things. This is the irony of the stolen election, isn't it? It's always the other side that's been so bad at this. So there'll be attempts at doing this. However, Queen of Pentacles and King of Swords. So this is a judicial answer to any. I think some races are going to be much closer than people think. They're going to be behind closed doors trying to do this, but I think they'll be exposed. And this is a very practical queen who has a calming influence on people. And this is the judiciary outcome. Three of Cups. So I think there are going to be some wins for the Dems in Texas, even if they don't get everything. And it's a sign. It's a sign. Now, while I'm shuffling in other news, random news, Between 2021 and 2023, 2 years, there were 5,894 books banned in the United States. Book bannings, let alone book burnings, but book bannings. Let's just hope it makes young people curious, because they're unlikely to read the books anyway, so it might make them more interested. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Now we're going, oh yeah. Now, as I predicted, the Yeti got the money for the appeal. Now the problem becomes, and this was a question from a couple of people, will the appeal lower the amount he has to pay? Will the appeal lower, because now he can go for the appeal, lower the amount of Engoron's order? Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Oh, big breaths. Mm. Five of Swords again. Oof. Well, look, I think, what can you get away with is one of these, right? What can you get away with? So this is someone who's quite brutal. They've won in the sense of even getting an appeal, but the others, I would say lawyers, are walking away 5 minutes before their law licenses are clawed back. So there's going to be a temp, but these cards give me heart. I think the temperance card goes, no matter what happens, there'll be a bit of balance. So I think they will reduce it. But here's the death card, which was deliberately designed when Sienna Rose and I were designing these cards, and June Clark, a resemblance here to the king being trampled, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and a burden. So I would say it will be reduced, but it will still be a massive burden and a career-ending amount of money with this death card. Look, even if they halved it to 200 and something million, I think he'd struggle, because I think he's exhausted so many of his contacts getting this money up. You know, we know Chubb's not going to do more. We know this and so. So don't feel too deflated if it's reduced. The amount will still really impact Trump org. Okay. We've got to take the small wins. All right. So now I'm going to go global now, because I'm not doing a week by week in April. I'm going to do a much bigger spread than I normally do, and having a look at global issues in April, because I think it's going to be a highly volatile month. And of course, I'm sure many of you follow the astrologers who are all saying, wait for April 8th. So we've had one eclipse on the 25th of March, which was lunar. It was a lunar eclipse, and it was in Libra. This is like the opposite. It's a solar eclipse. And all this energy from Mars and Aries, these are the hot planets, the warlike planets, the big explosive planets. So hunker down on April 8th. I'm organising my week next week so I don't go out on that day. But let's have a look. Global in April, please. Global in April. Global in April. Okay, so let's check this out. Queens, lots of queens. Oh, the card du jour. Oh, goodness. Thank the gods. But look, tumultuous. Tumultuous stuff. Okay, so in the center, oh, sorry. In the center, Queen of Pentacles. A lot of nurses and teachers, when I do private readings, get the Queen of Pentacles. And this is women, I think, everywhere globally regrouping, because women in every conflict, in every major issue, inevitably end up holding the baby. So, you know, there's this earth mother energy. Underneath, we have the Queen of Cups, a foot on land and a foot in the water. Now, I'm going to return to her after I do some of these other cards. The biggest obstacle with the world is if we just take away all the current major conflicts and so is big money in the sense of just being kept in private hands. We all know 1% of the world controls the resources. This is trying to balance this. This is female energy trying to make this work. And this, in this context, represents the uneven distribution of resources. And so that comes out in all sorts of ways globally in April. I think there'll be a number of shocking events. I think this will be in forms of armed conflict and natural disasters. I think it's going to be both. So to pay close attention in April, if you are in a zone that's prone to, now we're talking globally, so volcanoes, earthquakes, major floods, major fires. So there is going to be ongoing devastation in many places with conflict. Swords, look at these swords, right? So we can't be surprised. It's not going to magically resolve, but other things are going on. The energy around these cards is going to move on quite quickly. We need to understand how to think as global citizens, right? That old saying, think global, act local. Nothing is going to be done significantly about climate change or anything else until we realise we are all in this boat together and the boat's circular. It's not pointy at both ends. The world is round. Until we take responsibility and take the reins, it cannot be resolved. It has to be resolved with this momentum of globalization. Now, we have these two opposite each other. This is very similar to the Seven of Swords, the theft card, but I already described there's a ruthlessness that is blocking the Chariot. This is the Chariot, if you like, of justice, true justice, social justice, the sharing of global resources, the prioritizing of the green economy everywhere. And I think it's really important for, just going back to America again for a minute, those in the red states who fight everything that the Dems are trying to do for them, their imagination needs to be captured in April to say, okay, if the Green New Deal or a variation comes through my state, there's a possibility I could get work in a green economy. And I don't think this has been stressed enough. All the money goes into the arms industry and militarization and stuff. And then they go, well, there's no money to improve schools or hospitals. The same argument all over the world. Plenty of money for arms, plenty. Never enough money to help people and to help mothers. And if you help mothers, you help the whole next generation. So this chariot, I think, is quintessentially important. So be prepared for upheaval, chaos, and nastiness and stuff. But outcome, once we've been through that tumult, the sun, and there's a fearlessness to the sun. Okay, it's a card of courage and joy and all the good things. Look at those sunflowers. So I think April will be really, really challenging. So have your systems in place so that you are feeling supported, that you are in contact with like-minded people by keeping yourself engaged, not in an, exhausted fetal heap by all this gaslighting and stuff. No, don't succumb. This is exactly what the forces of the right and everything are the forces that don't want change and don't want justice want. They want to wear you out, and they've done a really good job. Okay, so we as the collective have to support each other and really exchange strategies for survival and engagement, which means stepping away from the news more, but at the same time, still being very conscious of finding your role. I think this is what the chariot and the sun are talking about. What is your role this year, both locally and globally? What small thing can you do to lend your weight and energy and support to something that rocks your boat or moves your chariot? Choose where you want to put this colossal energy. So after April is past, and I think in many ways it'll be the most confronting month in terms of, like I said, don't be surprised if there's literal and political earthquakes, leadership changes. All of this is on the horizon. So by May, you'll be primed with a new routine to help you go forward through the end of this year. So use May, use that Aries energy instead of arguing with people, which is one way to use the Mars Aries energy. No, 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 no. Find another more creative way. Oh, I promised I'd come back to her. Foot on land, foot in the water. If we live just in the material world, right, it'll be overwhelming. So the water represents all those intangibles, dreams, intuition, compassion, empathy, all those liquid things. We need the balance between everyday action and responsibility and the otherworldliness of this card, which that's how you'll keep your sanity and conserve your energy through 2024. So be prepared for everything and be prepared to act. Action works. My darlings, have to go? I'll be back. So please put your thoughts in the comments. Big love.